Last night's episode of Monday Night Raw was full of pulse-pounding excitement, whether it was the OC's rampage throughout the show or Bayley's shocking heel turn. Was there any way last night's Smackdown could successfully follow such a blowout of a show? Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at your Smackdown Live recap for the 3rd September 2019, as well as your latest wrestling news, including the AEW title being stolen, the ratings in for AEW's television special, WWE's MSG blunder, Batista making a non-wrestling video game debut, and an Impact wrestler refuses to blade. Smackdown Live is coming to you from Norfolk, Virginia, with Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton and Corey Graves calling the action. The show opens up with an interview from SmackDown Women's Champion, who defends her actions last night when she sided with BFF Sasha Banks over Becky Lynch. She's staying true to her word and values and showing loyalty to the women who have been by her side every step of the way to the top. Bayley tells the fans she will defeat the most selfish person on the earth, Charlotte Flair, at Clash of Champions, keeping the title around her waist so she can continue being a role model for the kids. Bayley is determined to put the SmackDown Women's Championship back on the map. The Queen, Charlotte Flair, isn't having it and shows up, telling the champion what you see is what you get. Charlotte warns Bayley she'd better hug her title real tight at the upcoming match. But then Sasha Banks' music plays, but Flair is ready and begins brawling with the boss and Bayley. Unfortunately, Bayley grabs a chair, blasting Flair with it before handing it to Banks, who smashes Flair as well. Charlotte's dad should have taught her you can't beat the numbers game given his years in the Four Horsemen. The first match of the night is the King of the Ring quarterfinals as ELIAS faces Mustafa Ali. ELIAS lasts much longer in the match than normal and surprises the fans even more when he catches Ali with the drift away for the victory. ELIAS surprisingly advances to round 3. Damn, we were hoping Ali would have gone through. Samoa Joe is seen backstage and asks why he's on SmackDown. Why would anyone even bother asking him, given that the WWE's revolving door policy between the red brand and the blue brand? He states he's there to scout his opponent for the next round, and that the person will go to sleep and bow down to the king. There's a women's tag team match up next as champions Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross take on Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, but it's a non-title match. The champs are lucky this one's a non-title match as Fire and Desire stun them with a win after Bliss tries the Moment of Bliss only to eat a pair of knees and covers Bliss for the win. The Viper Randy Orton is on hand to address his upcoming match against WWE Champion Kofi Kingston. Orton reminds Kofi what happens when someone crosses him, as video footage plays of Orton and the Revival beating down the New Day. Orton reminds Kofi that he's a fraud, and he simply isn't on the same level as Orton. The Viper calls out Kofi, and once again proves evil will win because good is dumb. Kofi runs in, finding himself outnumbered by the Revival and Orton. The heel trio beat down Kofi as Orton calls the Dreadlock Dynamo stupid. A Shatter KO machine inflicts more damage on Kofi. We then get a video recap of Roman Reigns' backstage beatdowns and his search for the truth. An announcement is made that the Big Dog will meet Rowan at Clash of Champions. Next up is the second King of the Ring quarterfinals matchup between Chad Gable vs Andrade, who's with Zelina Vega. Before the match, Vega tells Gable as a vertically challenged wrestler, she can relate to his guts. She gives more backhanded compliments as she tells Gable he might win except he has to face Andrade. Nonetheless, Gable proves her wrong and pins Andrade after a sunset flip. Shockingly, Chad Gable advances to round 3. Gable will now meet ELIAS in the semi-finals. Next up is a one-on-one match between Shelton Benjamin vs Aleister Black, as Benjamin finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, as Black gets the win following the Black Mass. It's time for more 24/7 championship shenanigans, as 24/7 champion Drake Maverick unsuccessfully fights off a gang of challengers, and Bo Dallas wins the belt. Sami Zayn is speaking for Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, who's about to face local talent. Zayn says it doesn't matter who the wrestler is, as all the champion sees is The Miz. That match is up next, and the local talent is Andrew Morton, and this is a non-title match, but it's a quick one as it's game over for Morton after Shinsuke hits the Kinshasa for a win. After the match, Bo finds out what it's like to be hunted as he is chased through the crowd and into the ring by the usual suspects. Maverick rolls up Bo to regain the belt and escapes up the ramp, but before he can leave the arena, R-Truth sneaks up behind and rolls Drake up to become a 14-time 24/7 champion. Daniel Bryan shows video footage of what appears to be Rowan attacking Roman Reigns, and Bryan admits the footage looks incriminating, but he reminds the fans he is many things, but not a liar. Roman Reigns comes out, but Rowan intercepts him, attacking him and beating him up all the way to ringside. Daniel Bryan tries to reason with Rowan, but to no avail as Rowan continues his assault. Rowan grabs the microphone and says he's tired of people trying to control him, particularly Daniel Bryan. Rowan admits he attacked Roman and he's proud of it. Rowan hits Roman with the steel steps and Daniel Bryan slaps Rowan, trying to regain control, but the big man claw slams him through the announce table as SmackDown closes up. That was a quick recap. What about the good, the bad and the damn right ugly? Let's start off with the good first. As number 1, a viable explanation. The Hugger's reasoning behind her siding with longtime friend Sasha Banks makes perfect sense, even though Bayley is positioning herself still as a role model. Bayley's subtle hypocrisy is perfect for her as a heel, and it's good to see the WWE blurring the lines between face and heel in the Bayley vs Charlotte program, giving fans more leeway with whom they feel like cheering and whom they want to boo. It's too early to tell how the heel turn will fare, but it's off to a strong start. Number 2. And speaking of strong starts, for whatever reason, SmackDown has been flat compared to Raw, but tonight's show started off strong, taking what could have been just another long opening promo into the furthering of a major heel turn, as well as a build-up for an upcoming title match. Number 3. Case closed. The WWE did a great job closing out the mystery of who Roman Reigns' attacker was, also building Rowan up as the big dog's next challenger, surprising many people who figured it would be Daniel Bryan. Rowan distancing himself from Daniel Bryan was a bold move, and the only drawback would be turning Bryan face. With any luck, the WWE will continue its current policy of heels fighting heels and face fighting faces, along with traditional babyfaces versus heel programs. While the Roman Reigns mystery storyline was starting to drag over the past 2 weeks, this wrap-up atoned for its past stumbles. Number 4. Good for Elias and Chad Gable. The WWE seems to be working to let fans know which wrestlers are entrenched at the top and which wrestlers are going upwards, regardless of past booking. 2 big examples are Elias and Chad Gable, well, mostly Elias, who despite being over with the fans was repeatedly jobbed, becoming little more than a comedy sideshow attraction. With Elias going to the King of the Ring quarterfinals, his fortunes may finally be changing, just as Baron Corbin appears to be getting a big push in the Royal Rankings. Also, this is the first time that Chad Gable has had any sort of significant win ever since breaking up with Robert Roode. Perhaps he's in line for a decent push as well. But that was the good. What about the bad? As number 1, bad for Ali. Unfortunately, there have to be losers in matches, and despite predictions he might go far in the King of the Ring tournament, Mustafa Ali is going home instead. The WWE doesn't seem capable of making up its mind whether it wants to push Ali, as seemed to be the case before his injury earlier this year, or just making him a mid-card act. Number 2. Fire and Desire won? While Wrestlelamia is thrilled to see the women's tag division getting some attention, it's mind-boggling why the WWE gave Fire and Desire a win over the tag team champions. To be blunt, Fire and Desire haven't been setting the tag team division ablaze, no pun intended, and the WWE could have easily used the Kabuki Warriors for a more credible challenge. But that was the good. The bad, what about the damn right ugly? But again, just like Raw, we're happy to report nothing ugly about last night's show. And while the blue brand didn't outdo the red brand show from the previous night, this was one of the best Smackdowns in several weeks. Whether it was dumb luck or the realization that the promotion's Fox debut is just weeks away, tonight's show was entertaining. It had a strong start, a well-paced middle, and an explosive finale. All the makings of a good episode. But that was a quick recap, the good, the bad and the ugly. Let's move on to the news, as our first headline looks at Jericho's AEW World Championship belt being stolen. Jericho, who won the AEW World Championship on Saturday's All Out event, filed a police report with Tallahassee, Florida police on Sunday 1st September. The limo driver shuttled the victim to Longhorn for dinner. The victim remained at Longhorn while the limo driver returned to the airport. The victim had taken the wrong luggage from the airport and the driver took it back to the terminal. When the driver picked up the victim from the restaurant, the belt was missing. The victim is listed as Christopher Jericho Irvine, weight and measurements, Date of birth 9th November 1970. According to the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 online site, responding to the comments on Instagram about the stolen title belt, AEW wrote, "Authorities are working on it as we speak. Thank you for your concern." Longhorn Steakhouse commented on the situation on social media as well, saying, "A man should be able to enjoy himself a fire grilled steak without having to worry about a bandit coming by and walking away with his effects. Hope it's returned soon." There's no word on why Jericho didn't dine at Cracker Barrel, the sponsor of All Out's Cracker Barrel Clash match, or whether the police have spoken with known wrestling thieves Repo Man and members of Crime Time concerning their whereabouts at the time of the reported incident. We'll keep you updated on this story, which, believe it or not, is not the first time a World Championship title has been stolen. Later in the day, Jericho posted a short video on Twitter, on AEW Wrestling's account, where he sat in his hot tub at home sipping champagne, announcing he had hired a world-class team of private investigators to recover the belt and apprehend the thief. At least Jericho and AEW are having some fun with the embarrassing incident. But even though the title has been stolen, Brian Alvarez tweeted they have a second one. A backup or not, it didn't take long for Corey Graves to add insult to injury when he dropped the line, "I'm sure he'll celebrate and take a limousine to a chain restaurant," after Drake Maverick won the 24/7 championship last night. Next up, the ratings are in for AEW's television special. In a piece of better news for AEW, the ratings for its Countdown to AEW All Out special are in, with the Observer reporting Friday night's Countdown to All Out preview special, which was only officially announced by AEW last week and not really promoted at all, averaged 390,000 viewers, airing at 10 PM Eastern Time on TNT. In the key 18 to 49 demographic, the show finished 29th for the night on cable with a 0.104 rating. That's average for TNT, which usually airs repeat programming in that time slot. The ratings are certainly encouraging, especially if you consider the Friday show didn't feature any live matches and was largely promos for All Out. Of course, the real gauge will be on 2nd October when AEW debuts its weekly 2-hour series on TNT. Next up, WWE's MSG Blunder. Now, WWE is returning to the mecca of professional wrestling next week for its Raw and Smackdown live events, which is Madison Square Garden for those who don't know, which has been host to the inaugural Wrestlemania and countless other big pay-per-views, and normally they've had no trouble selling out the arena. However, with just several days to go and even with big-name announcements of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker appearing, thousands of tickets remain unsold. These include hundreds in front of the hard camera and behind the announcers at ringside. There's still a few days to go, so hopefully WWE can turn things around, but this must be embarrassing for the company. But we have one suggestion: perhaps lowering the ticket price may help, as nosebleed seats are at $51. Floor seats in the first few rows at ringside are $656. Maybe that's just a little too high for a Raw and Smackdown, considering you're airing it from a bigger arena than normal. Next up, Batista makes a non-wrestling video game debut. Now, if you're into the video game Gears of War or you're a Batista fan, take note that Big Dave will be a playable character in the upcoming video game Gears of War 5. Batista released a hype video on his Twitter confirming the same. And our last story looks at an Impact wrestler punished for refusing to blade. Most fans will know that blading is the act where a wrestler actually takes a blade and cuts himself intentionally during a wrestling match. It normally involves a cut on the top of the head or above the eyebrow. However, Killer Kross refused to do so when he had his match against Eddie Edwards at Slammiversary, which was a first blood match, but the blood came from Kross's mouth via a blood pill. Impact officials weren't too happy that he used fake blood, as Kross didn't want to cut himself open. However, this issue may head to the courts, with Killer Kross claiming he refused to do the blade job due to health concerns and a contract dispute between the two. PW Insider reports concerns that Kross will soon be suing Impact. We'll keep you updated on the story as it follows. But there you have it, guys. A recap, the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly from the 3rd September 2019 edition of Smackdown Live and the latest wrestling news. What are your thoughts on the AEW title being stolen? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.